Let us review forceful practice instructions and then meditate like a Jedi. This set of practice instructions is known as Nerdy Nirvana Concise Meditation Manual. It's basically an elaboration of the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. Let's begin with the first noble truth of stress, or dukkha. From a certain point of view, stress is anything that circumstantially, physically, interpersonally, or mentally inhibits our ability to survive and thrive as a species, such as not receiving what we need when we need it for as long as we need it, or similarly enduring that which is harmful. Let's continue with the second noble truth of cause, or exacerbation, known in Pali as samudaya. We evolved a collection of instincts to survive these stressors. These are fine when used sparingly, but since the Neolithic Revolution, we have been forced to overuse them, enslaved by the fleeting short-term pleasures of our dopamine-oriented reward system. We have become defined by our controlling tendencies, and as such overfocus, overanalyze, and overbelieve to such a degree that we exhaust the dorsolateral and medial prefrontal cortex, which triggers our amygdala, the seat of anxiety and aggression, causing our tendencies to be rigid, fearful, superstitious, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel to be the guiding light by which we needlessly squander our brief human lives. Let's continue with the third noble truth of cessation or liberation, nirodha. The fulfillment for which we yearn could only be delivered by our oxytocin-oriented system that rewards our tendencies to be flexible, loving, rational, laid-back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, and kind. We continue now with the fourth noble truth, the Eightfold Path, or Marga. This meaningful path of enlightenment has 8 folds. Let us forsake the exhausting habit of actively fighting against our own autonomic nervous system, the hardware of our Buddha nature, and instead with it cooperate. By silently and mentally reciting the demonstrative pronoun this each time, we feel our chest subtly swell as we inhale. And by silently and mentally reciting the verb rest, each time we feel our chest subtly sink as gently we exhale. Let us explore how this works. We'll begin with the 7th fold, mindfulness, or sati. During our inhalation, spontaneous and uncontrived, the sympathetic nervous system, centered in the middle bit of our spinal cord, is already wired to vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly notice our perceptions. The sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, and scents of the four bases of mindfulness: the circumstantial, physical, interpersonal, and mental, including our abilities to emote, intend, reason, recall, and imagine. What follows is inspired by the discourse on the failings of the world, also known as the eight worldly dharmas, Lokavipati Sutta or Attalokadhamma Sutta. Instead of indulging our controlling tendencies to shove at things like circumstantial danger, physical pain, interpersonal scorn, and mental shame, as well as reach for things like circumstantial safety, physical bliss, interpersonal praise, and mental fame, let us choose instead to be vulnerable to all that we experience, from the external to the internal, from the physical to the mental, from the pleasurable to the painful, from the interesting to the boring, from the glorious to the grotesque. This brings us to the eightfold meditation, known as samadhi or passaddhi. What are we to do with all that we notice? Simple. With every exhalation, the top bit and the bottom bit of that same spinal cord, known together as our parasympathetic nervous system, whoops, okay, let's adjust this bad boy. Okay. Is already wired to rest in such a manner that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, less defining. Let's try this again. Could fleetingly feel less stressful, or dukkha, less permanent, or anicca, less defining, or anatta, and even as non-graspable as a vast empty void, sunnata. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although could look tantalizing to the eye, could feel non-graspable to the hand. Until, of course, the next inhalation, when the cycle begins afresh. And like the ticking pendulum of a grandfather clock, we continue to notice mind's antics and rest in its non-graspable nature. Let's take a quick technical aside with Bengali crease counting. The process of acquiring a new skill could make us anxious, and even feel that we, like a kind of Rip Van Winkle, could sit and meditate only to open our eyes and find that a century has passed us by. Some have found that the best way to non-neurotically time our meditation is to therefore practice a variation of Bengali crease counting. It can take more than 1 minute to count 16 inhalations. By touching the tip of our right thumb to the creases and tips of its little, middle, I'm confused now. Yes. Let's try this again. Little, ring, middle, and index fingers. It could take more than 20 minutes to count 16 sets of 16 inhalations each by touching the tip of our left thumb to the creases and tips of its little, ring, middle, and index fingers. It could take more than an hour to gather 3 collections of 16 sets of 16 inhalations each. By using the tip of our left middle finger to support our right middle finger's larger lower knuckle. Then support its middle knuckle up. Thank you for your patience. Then support its middle knuckle. Mm. Mm. While gathering our second collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations. And eventually support its very small upper knuckle as we gather our third collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations. all while resting both our hands, palms up, in our lap. Remember, that which at first feels awkward could be mastered if practiced once every 12 hours after only a week or so. Having explored the Four Noble Truths, need. For mindfulness and meditation, as well as their actual processes and supportive techniques, we can now consider how the authentic practice of this noticing and resting could cause us to effortlessly, automatically, and efficiently master the remaining 6 folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path of enlightenment. The first fold of wisdom, or pana, or ditthi, as we sit and breathe and notice and rest. All that we notice could fleetingly and effortlessly come to feel impermanent, evanescent, and far too subject to change to ever be permanently grasped. The more we sit and breathe and notice and rest, the more our anxious and aggressive amygdala is calmed, and the more our empathetic anterior cingulate gyrus is gently stimulated. So marinating our experience of the 4 bases of mindfulness, that mentally our intentions are spontaneously kinder, interpersonally our utterances are naturally kinder, physically our conduct is automatically kinder, and circumstantially our commerce is impulsively kinder. Thus, forging a heaven on earth, eventually a peaceful death, and even an auspicious rebirth, figuratively, if not literally. This brings us to the 6th fold, the effortless effort, samadhi or vayama. I feel like I made an error over here. Tomorrow I would like to verify the spelling of that. In fact, I think I'll do that right now. Please bear with me because there is only now. Let's go to, let's go up. Let's go to 8-fold path. Not what I'm looking for. Okay, let's go over here. Well, that's enough of that. Okay. You hit Control G 56. Maybe that will jog my memory after class. Of course, that just altered OBS. So let me adjust that right quick. The more we notice mind's antics and rest in its non-graspable nature, the more we automatically experience the effortless effort of expedient means flow state, or Wu Wei. That comes from not from calculated contrivance, nor from wild scatterness, but instead from love's deeply centered spontaneity. Let us transcend our elitist conditioning to consider the possibility that enlightenment is merely mastery of this eightfold path. As children, the skills to use the toilet, brush our teeth, tie our shoes, and ride a bike felt insurmountable. And yet, with time and effort and tears, we so mastered these skills that we came to perform them spontaneously, habitually, easily, and effectively. Similarly, enlightenment's eightfold path could likewise be mastered. Perhaps that is why, in the second to final passage of his discourse on the four bases of mindfulness, the Buddha is said to have explained that one could master this path in as suddenly as 7 days. No, doing so does not mean we'll never experience the presence of any pain or any craving ever again. It simply means we will have mastered the Buddha's figurative tool chest, with which we could sustainably transcend the tyranny of each sling and arrow of outrageous fortune. So, once every 12 hours or so, may we sit and breathe and notice and rest. Okay, so having ticked that box, let us shift gears. It is Qui-Gon Jinn Tuesday evening. At least it is in my corner of the globe. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. After about 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Semde Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School for more than 30 years. I have harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus to spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to meditate like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Woof. Let us touch the tip of our left thumb to the lowest set of creases on its left little finger, and then rest this hand palms up in our lap, thus reminding us that we are now working on our first set of 16 inhalations. Every time we silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this during our inhalation, we can advance our right thumb. up the creases and tips of each of its forefingers. Let's practice together right now. Having run out of objects upon which to rest my right thumb, it's time to now, and I'll say, oh, this doesn't seem quite centered. What's going on with this? Is it because... Well, anyway, having run out of places to count, it's time to advance the left thumb. And thus, you get the basic idea of how to keep track of 16 sets of 16 inhalations each. And of course, we keep track of our first collection of 16 sets of 16 inhalations by resting the great knuckle of our right middle finger upon the tip of our left middle finger, palms up in our lap. I'm going to take a moment to adjust the cam real quick. Okay, so... to drag this here. This is all really screwy. Let's go back to edit and undo. And edit and... Okay. Oh well. Not everything's going to be perfect all the time. Oh, old school it, eh? Let's meditate. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever anger or pain or joy we might have noticed, or our sorrow we might have noticed during our previous inhalation, could feel as if it was melting into the simplicity of emotional energy. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist or Taoist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions intermittently. As you breathe in, please silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. As you exhale, please silently and mentally recite the verb rest. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's first session of Meditating Like a Jedi. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.